Iran state television aired footage of the bodies of killed protesters and the bullets that killed them. Iranian propagandists claim that the victims were allegedly killed by trained terrorists, asserting that these individuals were among the protesters themselves. So you can see in that Iran is trying to shift the blame of a lot of the people that were killed, stating that it was terrorist cells hidden within the protesters that were doing a lot of the killing. I've seen tons of videos within the last 2 weeks that points to that not being the case. There were besieged forces and IRGC forces that were just indiscriminately firing into these crowds of people. They were not individually targeting people that were throwing Molotov cocktails or shooting back either. They were just indiscriminately firing. So they're trying to shift the blame here. That's not to say that there were not trained quote-unquote terrorist cells within these groups. There absolutely were Kurdish forces who had been armed by the Israelis who were sparking and furthering a lot of the violence within these protests. So there's blame on both sides. There's no such thing as a right or wrong necessarily in terms of a situation like this. You have rioters who completely destroyed entire cities. They were burning mosques. They were destroying bank branches. They were carrying out political assassinations. And then you have the Iranian government who had to quell the riots in order to gain control of their country back. But simultaneously, you had people within the Iranian forces who were arguably committing terrorist acts themselves. A UN Security Council meeting on Iran may take place today at the request of the United States. Recently, Reza Pallavi, who is the son of the former Shah of Iran, has been giving tons and tons of talks, really sort of coordinated propaganda to try and spark up these protests and keep them going. He has an interest in being himself reinstalled in some form of a position of power in Iran, which is why he has been giving these speeches and trying to further the protests. He would like to see himself and his family be reinstated into power in Iran, which is why he's been giving these speeches. The rioters were screaming, "Long live the Shah," and this is specifically referencing Reza Pahlavi. However, it looks like at the moment that there has not been enough support seen amongst the people within Iran for the Israeli or American government to take him seriously, because Trump said recently that, quote, Reza Pahlavi seems very nice, but he questioned whether he could secure enough support inside Iran to lead the country if the Islamic Republic was to collapse. The Israeli army was placed on maximum alert and was fully ready for a U.S. strike last night. The Israeli Air Force was activated during the night for a possible escalation, but it seemed the U.S. called off the attack in the last minute. Israeli Channel 14 said that Turkey, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia played a critical role in calling off the U.S. strike on Iran last night. All three countries rejected an escalation and informed the White House that they would not grant U.S. forces their airspaces to strike Iranian territory from.